I'm super happy to present my first context operating system case study. This is my conversation with Victor Sawyers. He's the head of go-to-market at Pixee AI. He's a seasoned go-to-market operator. Yeah, I think that's the saying, right? Operator. Who I really respect. He's got a ton of expertise, and I really love working with him. This is a deep dive into the overlap between go-to-market and context engineering. At its core, my context OS approach takes the constant context switching and always having to re-explain yourself to AI and turns that into a compounding intelligent asset that gets smarter the more you use it. It's AI that always has the context. That's a good way to kind of think of it. So Victor and I are going to talk about the go-to-market operating system we built out. He's going to talk a little bit about the methodologies I developed and that kind of set the foundation, and how he's taken the system and gone and run with it, which has been awesome to see. He's going to talk a little bit about the problems that kind of led him to want to bring in my context engineering approach and expertise. You're going to learn what a context operating system is, how it works, where it creates value for go-to-market, and you're also going to learn where it creates the most amount of value and the least amount of value, okay, where it's not the tool for the job. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with him and the rest of the team at Pixee. They are definitely pushing the edge, not just in their go-to-market, but in their core product as well. So if you are in application security and interested in automated remediation, you should definitely find some time to chat with them. Let's get into it. Okay, Victor, thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciate the time. We're going to be talking about the context operating system you and I have been working for Pixee. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your background, how we kind of got to working together, and we can kind of dive into the system after that.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me. So I am sort of a serial operator. I've been part of startups in the sort of transition from founder-led sales into scale for the past 15 years. I've had kind of all the hats, right? Like head of sales, head of CS, three-time VP of RevOps. And always loved the like early stage mess of how do we codify go-to-market motion, how do we build from sort of the early signals of what's working and sort of build an infrastructure to scale that. So you and I started working when I joined Pixee, which is
Mm-hmm.
a seed stage cybersecurity company that uses AI to effectively automate product security engineering work to find and fix the vulnerabilities in code bases that should be fixed. And
Mm-hmm.
when I joined Pixee, which is, I guess, 6 months ago, maybe at this point, Pixee had transitioned from a PLG sort of engineer developer centric product and motion into a proper B2B enterprise sales motion, and was really building kind of the go to market. Not from scratch, like we have a head of sales and one of the founders who's been selling, but that's it. The
Mm-hmm.
rest of the company is like
Yeah.
18 engineers.
Yeah.
And so when I came in, it was really to own like foundational growth. Like how do we build pipeline? How do we advance deals faster and support our head of sales and so on and so forth.
That whole
So
mess. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Exactly.
and I guess prior to joining Pixie, I'd also spent a year at Primary Ventures looking at AI and go to market, all the vendors, all the spaces, seeing if we could build conviction to build a company.
Yep.
And so when I joined, like I and the founders knew like we were going to push marketing as fast as possible in as agentic a form as possible, and run a really lean team. So that's been like, a secondary mandate alongside like
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
grow the hell out of this thing.
It makes sense. Yeah. So I guess when we first started talking, what was something that stood out to you about the approach? I can talk a little about like how I think of the context operating systems, but I'd love to hear about it in like your own words, basically, when we were first scoping things out.
Yeah, I think like if anyone follows you, there's a ton of focus on building something that can compound, that
Mm-hmm.
takes kind of core operating principles and knowledge and builds a context system that is constantly learning from what's there and that can take advantage of kind of new shifts in the models and underlying capabilities alongside kind of what we learn as a go-to-market organization.
Yep.
And when I came into Pixie specifically with a team of one, like we had all of these different components of work across the customer life cycle. So it's like foundational stand up, like our marketing, messaging, and content production work streams, build the signal based sort of triggers and harness for an outbound motion, do the like RevOps work to manage the middle of funnel and help
Yeah.
kind of surface leads and do the scoring, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Yeah.
I think that lends itself really well to a system that can get smarter over time, can compound, that can build agents into. And what I didn't know, and you taught me, was just like how flexible it can become because you have like these
Yeah.
modular like building blocks.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into showing more of the system, but I really enjoyed building developing something like kind of growing the knowledge base first and then handing it off to you and then you seeing it take it to like the moon and beyond has been awesome to see. Because one of the things I really think about is like you want it to conform as tightly as possible to your actual workflows and problems. And seeing that actually work really well for you, like I feel like you spend more time with the thing than I do now, like the farm,
I
right?
mean, I hope so because like I don't sleep because it's fun to use. So
Yeah. So I guess we can start with the content stuff because I feel like that's pretty tangible. Just for context, one of the things that we worked on was I built out a workflow that ingests 150 to 200, articles that you've curated, right, from application security industry experts, influencers, newsletters, everything. And that gets classified for relevance to Pixie's kind of like understanding of the market and perspective. Um, I think maybe you can speak to this like having be independently valuable and then amplifying like you curating it. Well, yeah, could you speak a little bit to like I really liked your perspective when you brought this as like something to work on. Could you speak a little bit about
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Maybe
and I
show
guess
it.
like, and do you want me to show it at the same time?
Let's talk about it first, and then we can pull it up on
Cool.
the actual workflow
So,
and system.
the way I think about the context is it's sort of right like a dump of everything we know.
Yeah,
And there's different buckets of that. So first and most importantly is the like institutional knowledge that's inside the walls of your company, right?
yeah,
So I was joining an organization of repeat founders and an experienced engineering team that's like lived this problem space for their entire careers
yeah.
and had some content, had call transcripts, like had real conviction on the space. And as any organization, like Google Drive or whatever, folders of information.
Yeah,
And a CRM that was in
yeah,
pretty good shape. Credit to
yeah.
our head of sales. I think he had built like a pretty good system.
Hmm.
And so like that's bucket one is like what do we know? And what do we
Hmm.
know from our customers and our prospects? And can we
Yeah.
extract that? And that's like the foundational stuff. And then there's sort of like your third party sets of information, and that can be varied. Like, are you buying data? Are you scraping information that's publicly available?
Hmm.
And what we started out to build, I think, is like a real synthesis of those different data streams.
Yep.
And there's different hierarchies, right? Like the stuff we know is scored and weighted higher than like deep research prompts that
Exactly.
we're extracting and bringing information in.
Yeah.
But the two are really valuable, especially in the early stage, because like there's just we don't have 20 years of kind of first party data crammed into Salesforce, right? Like that's not the
Hmm.
situation.
Yeah. And effectively synthesizing those while also maintaining an audit chain of what you can know and can't know, right? Because I think everyone knows, you'll get the AI confidently hallucinating. You're absolutely right. Um, One of the things I think is so effective with a system like this is it's plain English, where you can still audit all the way through. It's like, well, I went to this link and this link and this
Yeah.
link. Maybe this is a good time to actually start
Yeah. Let
showing
me
some
pull
of
it
the
up.
system. Yeah.
Yeah, let me like walk through like very tangibly like how it's laid out and why I think what you've built here is really
Yeah.
effective. So um Claude Code, right? Like a lot of folks aren't in it, is essentially a folder system with markdown files,
Hmm.
text files, and it is literally files on the desktop or in GitHub. And
Yep.
the way we've organized it is the folders follow a hierarchical structure. Um,
Hmm.
and I think the like easiest way to make that real is to like maybe look at the customer folder, right? So like
Yeah. It's a great idea.
um, what we have at the core of the customer folder are all our calls, right?
Hmm.
And like just pick a random demo call.
Hmm.
So all of these transcripts are in here across kind of our entire team, and it's the raw sort of voice of customer at
Yep.
its core. And then on top of the calls, we now are appending a synthesis. So like what happened in the call, what's the tool stack that we extracted that's relevant to Pixie, other information. We have MedPick that's
Yep.
being extracted out of these calls. That's getting pushed to the CRM, so we're trying to like automate some of the tedious workflows of a rep.
Yep.
But more importantly, like those call transcripts in the customer folder are then all rolled up collectively. So at this point, there's several hundred calls into like what we call these synthesis documents. So,
Yep.
you got all the pain points across all the calls, all the objections, the running kind of log of each call, like vertical specific analysis.
Yep.
And those are foundational documents that we look at manually as well as getting updated by like AI off the call transcripts. And then they form like each folder has these like synthesis canonical docs of data and
Yep.
information, and they get rolled up to effectively like the core foundational documents of the company. So,
Exactly.
like our sort of what is Pixie? What do we do? Who are we? How are we different? What's happening in our industry that the AI should care
Hmm.
about when it's thinking about being Pixie, right?
Yeah. And how do you get it to sound, use the right language consistently over and over again, right? Instead of having to
Exactly.
always just feed in stuff to your ChatGPT window over and over,
Yeah.
copy all
Yeah.
that copying pasting. Yeah.
And then the folders, right, are like they're primarily agentic, but they are trying to be usable for humans
Yep.
as well. Like
Yep.
we are in here. So that's the folder hierarchy. And then the thing you
Hmm.
built, which I think has been like really genius, is effectively like a knowledge graph system on top to do semantic linking
Yep.
between documents across folders, etc. And that's also really powerful. Um,
Like
and
our
so
foam
like
graph here. Yeah.
yeah, it's a bad extension to show it, but like I think it'll get the
Yeah, it
point
looks,
across, which is
yeah,
like,
just see the mess of it,
okay,
but it's,
so that like however many files are in this system, right? They're all
hmm,
linked together. So I'm
hundreds.
pretty
Yeah.
sure, this is like product over here or something like that. Yeah, there's a technical
Yeah.
product overview. Like I'm sure
Yeah.
this is like foundational customer information or
Yeah.
synthesis, like call stuff. And what happens is that we have instructed the agent in the like command files of Claude, like how to use the linking between documents.
Exactly.
So,
So it grounds
like,
it. Yeah.
yeah, so like this is the
Hmm.
linking,
Yep.
which you built. And
Yep.
then every time you prompt the system, it's loading, the instructions effectively. And the instructions are like, okay, well, what is this? Like, first of all, it's Claude code, but this is not for code. It's for Pixie and go to
Hmm.
market.
Hmm.
This is who we are, whatever. This is like how to use the files. This is where stuff is. And
Yep.
so if you're prompting it about customer intelligence or content creation, like the agent is going to very quickly go to the right documents in the right folder. It's very token efficient, but it's also
Yep.
bringing the connective tissue of all the stuff together. And so the outputs like tend to be better, right? So I think that's
Yep.
been the genius of the system.
Yeah. I just kind of the way I think about it, like you want to remove as many layers of stuff in between the raw context, the AI, and the human being driving the system. Because that
Yeah.
just like allows everything to flow so much better. And like, and I know this graph looks insane to people, but like, you're not using this to like navigate around the graph. This is just showing how everything is grounded to one another
Yeah.
or grounded
Yeah.
to. So when you have an agent grounded into the graph, it's always using, your positioning doc, that you've like is your living source of truth. So those other things like this whole system is Git versioned. So when we decide, all right, we want to make a huge change to this section because it doesn't matter anymore, maybe we want to roll back, maybe we want to use it, move forward. The whole point is it's like a living document that you can continuously update. And if you want to bring something back, just go into the Git logs and pull it back.
Yeah, for sure. Which you've had to
Yeah.
do when I break it. So
Well, that's I mean that's one of the features, right? It's like let's just go ship it and see what happens, and then see how it changes the pay for the agent, and like Everything is totally empirical based.
Yep, for sure.
So I guess from here, I guess we could show maybe the like weekly content production workflow, kind of bring in the apps like weekly briefing, and then I'd be curious to understand like I know we can't show the full kind of workflow, it takes too long, and um, but maybe just like the briefing document and the output that you drive, because that's all you.
Yeah,
The system I built, the way I see it is like the system I built is like amplify your taste and expertise in the space, and you can go to market growth. So,
sure. Yeah, so I would say content creation in general is like one of the core working strengths of the system and one of the focus
hmm
areas that we focused on early on. So there's a few ways this happens, right? So like going back to like intelligence and like what are we working from? The system is hooked in via API to a bunch of like SEO research libraries, and like we've got in the content strategy doc, like the topic areas, the clusters, the keywords, like group by persona and product lines,
hmm
stuff like that. So there's foundational context for the content creation in general. And then there's a few ways the system runs. So you mentioned the AppSec Weekly. I'll touch on that, or I'll show it in
hmm
detail in a second. But there's also just like the idea that this can be agentic
Yep.
and flow with or without humans in the loop. And so like one of them is more just like a general content production system.
Yep.
And so this is a set of like seven, I guess it's eight now, agents that work with you at various steps to effectively like design the content that we're going to create. So maybe I have, just a generic idea of a topic, or maybe I say, hey, go look at the SEO topic clusters, pick one we haven't talked about recently, and give me something I should be writing about. Um,
Yep.
and it will go do that and suggest some angles. You say yes or no or modify it. And then it flows through. And then it's like, okay, well, now we have the angle. Like, what's the premise? Like, what's our hook? What's the headline? Okay, and now let's go build the outline of the content. And the way we've built the system, this is asking for human input throughout the
Yep.
system. And I think like,
Augmentation. Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty powerful. I mean, you believe in augmentation. You've also designed it so that
hmm
I think it works like within the constraints of an LLM, right? Like it's storing things at micro checkpoints, so it's not going off the rails.
Yeah.
Um, and then we're validating SEO. We're like, removing M dashes and other AI tells.
The AI stop one. Yeah. And also
Yeah.
the copywriting rule set you created. That was a good addition to the system. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get into that in the AppSec one. And then we have founder tone of voice, like brand tone of voice, guideline and documents. We've got, you know, copywriting principles from like the Mad Men era that it knows about.
Yeah.
And that all can help. So the AppSec weekly briefing is basically our automated um, still use automated with like quotes maybe right now, but it's our newsletter. So it's a weekly
Yeah.
newsletter. And effectively, what is happening is that we have built a um, giant RSS feed of anything and everything we can think of that might touch application security and cybersecurity more broadly.
hmm
And every day, the system, this isn't in Claude code, this is pipe dream. It could be N8N or equivalent. You could probably do it in Claude code.
You deploy your own. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Python's a good balance. That's why I like it because you can write real code and put it up and it'll run. But
yeah. It's
yeah,
working
it's
well, so thank you.
yeah.
All right, so it's fetching the articles every day, hundreds of
hmm
them. And then there's a series of prompts that's sort of categorizing those articles for um, the topics or whatever that are. Oh, this is the wrong one. This is the second part of
That's
the
the
flow.
generator one. Yeah.
Um,
This is the one
yeah,
that runs
so
every day. Yeah.
yeah, so it's grabbing the articles, it's classifying them into like pillars maybe that we care about, and like why they might be relevant for us. Is it talking about stuff our customers and prospects we care about? So it's grabbing all those articles, it's classifying them, and it's storing them all in a database. So I don't know the exact
Mhm.
number. Maybe you know off the top of your
We're
head
up to
how
like
many.
1,300, 1,400 now.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
it does,
So
it does like 150 a week, which is like impossible for a human to read all those at
yeah,
once. So
yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so then it's taking the 150 in a week that are relevant and storing them. And then it's
Hmm.
generating effectively like an internal research brief on those 150 articles. And maybe I won't show you like the internal side of that, but like you can think
Yeah.
of it basically as like a Google Doc, the top three things that happened this week, what it means for Pixie.
Yep.
It's suggesting like specific content angles that we could write about in terms of current events. And you could
How it
imagine, right?
relates to
Like,
Pixie. Yeah. How it relates to AppSec in general. Yeah.
yeah, and you could imagine like saying, "Yep, that's interesting," and then it flows into that content production plugin and set of agents that we just went through.
Yep.
Um, so that's the second pipeline, right? So it's a series of prompts that build and effectively create that internal briefing. That
Hmm.
internal briefing then gets dumped back inside Claude. And we then have a whole set of additional commands and agents that create a public facing version of that internal brief. And
Yep.
so it's probably 5 prompts, I think they do that. It's a templatized sort of output. Um, it's up on our website if you want to go check it out.
You do a good
And
job with it. Yeah.
yeah, it runs every week. And then it also will take that and generate like the HTML email. It'll push that into HubSpot. And then like we're basically auditing and pressing send.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so that's the process. And then like you mentioned training it to be better, I guess, over time and like this idea of the compound effect. So what ended up happening is like I would get the initial like runs of this stuff and be like, well, yeah, okay, but like I'm still gonna spend a few hours editing it.
Editing it
Um,
up. Yeah.
and so that's what I would do. And rather than like one-off edit the thing, like we started to build principles of our content. And in this case,
Hmm.
like specifically editorial. Like this is not a product that sells Pixie. This is a genuine, like be useful newsletter to our market.
Yeah, exactly.
And like
Independent value.
we had to train it to do that.
Yeah.
Um, so there's examples in like the data. It's like, hey, this is what it said before. This is what I wrote.
Hmm.
And here's why I changed it. And there's probably 30 or 40 examples in this training doc now. Every week I add a few more.
Yep.
And then there's like universal principles that it's pulled out, right, for how we want to write and what we want to do. So like we want to talk like humans. We want to treat you like an individual. Like, we don't want to use buzzwords. Like, we don't want to waste your time. Like, and
Yep.
so now those agents that are running and creating the next weeks, like, have these principles. They have examples. Every week, the output is, I think we're on week 6 or 7 of doing this. The output has gotten
Yep.
much, much better progressively. And I'm curious now with like, Anthropic releasing like a bunch of stuff and
4.5. Yeah.
4.5, like
To be
how
good.
much better is
Yeah.
it going to be without us doing any more work? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's like
It's a
one of
thing.
them on the content side. The last thing I'll mention there is there's also agents in here, I mean skills in here now. Um,
Skills are huge. Yeah.
and
Just for
I'll let you like,
everyone,
yeah,
what is for everyone listening? Skills are just, so the technical term is like progressive context exposure. All the means instead of dumping all of the context into the AI at once, you give a little, shorter version that says, hey, when you're working on copywriting, go call this skill. And then when you need more information about how to write copy for the newsletter, then go read this file. And what happens is because the agent is not like getting just like overwhelmed with all this information at once, it can break down tasks into smaller pieces. And when it breaks down a task to a smaller piece, it does it better. So over time, right, the smaller you make a task, the more attention it can focus on it, and the more specific context you can say, all right, when you're on this step, use this skill to always make sure you sound this way, right?
yeah,
Um,
So that's one of the things when skills weren't out when we first started this. So we had like we adapted it, we adapted basically the methods we were already using already and just put them into skills. Um,
Yeah. Like the two things I like about it. So one is the way they're designed. Like you don't have to say use this skill, right?
yeah,
I just say like, oh, hey, I'm editing this thing and it knows.
yeah,
So that's great. It's great for me, but like I built the system. I could tell it like to go do explicit stuff. I kind of like know where all the skeletons are. But now
yeah,
I've got 6 people on my team using it and they
yeah.
don't,
On board
they're
them.
not living
Yeah,
in here. And so
yep,
like Ebony on our team, she's doing our social
yep.
media. All she has to do is like, hey, I'm editing this post, and it will know what to do and what to call and how to like try to help her as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, I mean that's a good segue, I guess, getting into well, the way that's enabled is through Git versioning, but I guess we'd also then talk a little bit about what I guess the word I want to use is emergent, but I'm trying to find like what is the value of seeing more people onboard onto it and then you being able to basically still manage everyone's, interactions with the tooling and kind of like taking all of the work off of them, but them getting the
Yeah.
benefits still. Yeah.
Well, there's a few things, and it depends on the use cases. Like one of the things that's so
Yeah.
cool about this is again how flexible it is.
Hmm.
So maybe I'll like pick out two. So one is Sarag, our CEO,
Yeah.
is using this. Like part of it is content creation, a lot of the stuff you just saw, except his version of that.
Yeah.
But he was also he's thinking about our Series A raise
Hmm.
and our sort of positioning narrative and story with VCs
Hmm.
and also within that, like, what's the product vision long term? Um,
Yeah.
and so, like, one of the things he did was point this brain, if you will, at our code repositories. And he's like,
Yeah.
what do we have? Why is it different? Like, what makes it so
Hmm.
cool? And then what's in the roadmap, based on, like our version of Jira.
Yeah.
And we have weekly engineering meetings where they're talking about kind of all that stuff. So those transcripts are in the product folder.
Yeah.
And so like he's designed this like forward-looking sort of scope that's part product roadmap and vision, part category positioning, and it's now in here and it's like the more aspirational vision stuff. And that's been really
Yeah.
cool to see.
Yeah.
So that's like one use case. The other one is like our sales team.
Hmm.
So we had a new SDR start this week. And first of all, I just told it to like create an onboarding guide and like this is
They
it's good.
knew where everything
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good, right? And then okay, I
Yeah.
read it and I was like, oh, it's missing this, missing that, like add this.
Hmm.
And it has voice of customer, it has the objection, like it's just dynamite.
Yeah.
And so that's like an obvious use case. But then there's also like the ramp time and like cutting that down. So not just onboarding docs, but hey, you don't know our domain, but like we need you to do exhaustive, real high quality research on every prospect because like
On this domain. Yeah.
yeah, like we're not spray and pray. Like we have a very targeted ICP. It's not
Hmm.
infinite. There's probably 200,000 people in the world we really want to talk to.
Yeah.
And so now like he just says research prospect, right? And like it
Yeah.
spins up the agents, it does the work, it pushes that intel into our CRM.
Yep.
Or if he wants to draft a sales email, right? It's the same thing.
All in there, all marked down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just in Markdown, right? Like the thing that you
No, yeah.
built also connects to the CRM and other tools. So it's able to go
Yeah.
say, like, okay, what do we already have this contact? Have we talked to other people at the company? Like, let's figure it out.
Yeah. So it's limiting all these data and context silos. You just move across all of them freely. No more
Yeah,
context switching. Yeah.
that's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think people underestimate just because, we're so used to going to Gmail and I have to go into the CRM, to go into like all these different tools. We take it for granted that it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
And when it's not that way, you're like, oh, wait, this is so much better than anything else. So yeah, I mean that's really cool. I guess one of the things I'm curious now about. So we talked a little bit about what the system has done really well. One of the things, I always want to like level. So one of the things I want to talk about is one of the things like maybe is there a high learning curve? Like who would benefit from this and who would be like maybe find something else to use? Um,
Sure.
yeah,
I think I wrote about like I don't think RevOps is dead
yeah,
recently because yeah, a good chunk of work has gone into crafting the system, architecting the
Hmm.
intel. We didn't talk about it, but like there's a bunch of automations that are running here to keep the content fresh.
Everything up to date. Yeah.
Yeah, and like there was a bunch of upfront design work to do that,
Yep.
and to maintain
Building
it.
that workflow. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think like that's not to be underestimated, and that trade-off is
Hmm.
all like it always exists between like if you're gonna do custom versus off the shelf, right? Like
Yep.
there's certain capabilities we haven't talked about today, like monitoring the LinkedIn ecosystem, that like you could probably use Clay and Trigify and plug into HeyReach and sort of build a version of what we have too, but it wouldn't
Yep.
be quite as tweaked and tailored. Or there's like Momentum or other tools that'll take the call transcripts and update the CRM and build next steps and suggest copy, right? Like, and I think at scale, when you're operating with multiple product lines and tons of teams and you need it all in a data warehouse and like it's a real trade-off to build bespoke.
Yeah.
So at least like the system we have right now, I think is geared towards smaller, earlier stage teams that want to
Hmm.
really execute custom workflows. So that's like
Yep.
one. And I think about the founder archetype of like I'm the system you built here is it does go to market things, right? But like it's really about, as you said, augmenting the people and letting them build their
Yep.
workflows and supercharge like whatever they want to do. And that's like a different approach and mindset to like the software stack a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
and it
Being done
lends
for
itself
you.
well to
Yeah.
early. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
the
That
second
makes
part is
sense.
like content creators and like marketing teams. I think this is a home run to have something like this.
Because of actually, yeah. I think the thing that I found that even as I work on these things is so surprising to me is like how much of this is the value is in the power and simplicity of that markdown. And like it'll connect to your other tools, right? But getting comfortable and saying, all right, well, like when there's nothing in the way between me and the simplest possible version of storing this information, that's the value. And to your point, it's also like the trade-off. Because
Yeah.
then you have to like onboard new users. All right, this is how you interact with the system. The Claude just released Claude Code in the desktop version, which is how you'd interact with maybe like a prettier UI. I think over time, right, you'll all find and people find the right balance and trade-off between the power of like the raw system and making it more user friendly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I could tell you, I
but
wouldn't want to onboard 20 sales reps into Claude Code, like
yeah,
terminal
to
thing.
have to get them to work. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But like the one SDR that's sitting next to me every day. Yep. It's great.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's I think it's pretty much everything to cover so far. I guess maybe one last thing is I know you've gone really crazy and like used this system as inspiration for your own version personally and other stuff like that. What was the thing that is like, why did you do that? I guess I was like really curious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I geek out on this stuff, so that's part of it. But
Yeah, yeah.
like there's the core principles of like, hey, the models are getting better. Like you've got to
Hmm.
augment yourself. And like
Yep,
I believe that fundamentally.
yep,
And the like archetypes of load context about yourself and how you like to work and what you know in. And so the system and AI outputs are just like better and better over time. Like that's number one.
yep.
Number two, like personally, I'm working on a lot of different projects. Some are go to market, so like the tie-in is pretty explicit or
It's
like
right
content
there.
generation
Yeah.
focused, but not all of them.
Hmm.
And I think like the system has turned me into like a coder. Don't tell the 18
Yeah.
engineers I work with, like, but I am pretty sure that like I use more of the like Claude API credits than they do in a given week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Pushing more through it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's because like the Pixie product is super complex and like they're doing a lot manually,
Yeah.
um, but there's this like archetype data pattern that I think AI unlocks, which is like, hey, I want to go map a space. I want to extract as much information and context and data about that space. I want
Hmm.
to inspect it, ask questions about it, build a mental map around it, and then like form an opinion about it. And then once I have an opinion, I want to distill it down into something and create. And like
Yep.
that
And action it.
pattern, which
Yeah.
is like the hierarchical folder pattern of the system,
Yep. Yep.
it's just been really cool to like build small and fairly large things that like kind of do that. So like,
Yeah, and work up and down that chain. Yeah.
yeah. So like just for fun, I built a survival repository that like, it's like,
Yeah,
okay, if the zombies come, like what should I do? Like,
yeah.
I don't know, just for fun.
It's fun. No, it's cool. I'll link that one because it is a useful resource. I think the big one with that, the core I think about is AI has made plain English code, right? It's made plain English. You can all the logic you ever need, you can basically communicate in plain English. And now the barrier to entry, the thing I always say is that the barrier is not better models, better tools. It is the clarity of your understanding of the problem, what you want to solve, how you want to solve it, why you want to solve it. So that clarity of thinking, like AI just compounds whatever you give it. So if you have a really high quality understanding of the problem, it'll just compound it all the way through to the end. If you don't know, right, then that's where you get hallucinations, it's where you get junk, you get generic outputs. I think the system at its core just solves that problem like exceptionally well, like down to the basics.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I guess like maybe the last thing that you taught me, which I had no idea how powerful it would be, is that like I don't know, Cloud Code is working locally, and so you're
Mm-hmm.
getting rid of a lot of like context limitations, right? It can see all the files on your computer, can work on those, and then it's really easy to have like 6 or 7 prompt windows open and like
Just
multitask and kind of
running.
like
Yeah.
run, so you can just move so fast when it's working right and not crashing at least.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing I think about. It's like it accelerates your iteration tempo, right? Compounds the same, once you solve a problem, you never have to solve it twice. In that asynchronous collaboration. Because once it's done, right, everyone has access to what the branding positioning. They can just pull it down, works immediately. Um, when it doesn't crash and things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Which isn't like it's not the fault of what Jacob
I
did.
know,
That's
I know, I
that's an
know, I know.
anthropic problem with cursor, whatever.
I think you can only have maybe 6 or 7 is too high. Maybe 3 or 4 clouds is enough for most people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean
Or
it's
we
enough
just need to buy
for
more RAM.
right. It's enough for everyone, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really appreciate the time, Victor. This is a great conversation.
Yeah. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation. If you're in go-to-market and tired of the endless context switching, this is probably a system for you. I'm working on making this and all of my learnings, methodologies, and approaches more accessible. So if you want to stay in the loop, make sure to subscribe. But regardless, I just hope you learned something useful. If you are in last thing, right? If you're in application security, go check out Pixee. They are awesome. And thank you so much for your time. I really hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.